Hi, boys and girls. Are you ready to do some history? We are going to be learning about new people in a new country. But before we do that, we are going to review our new timeline pegs. We're starting a new quarter, so that means we're starting new timeline pegs this week. So, what I would like for you to do is stand up strong, and I would like for you to stand up in ready position so that we can review our new timeline pegs. We're going to do this together. So let's stand up in ready position. I'll wait for you to be in ready position, and we can begin. The Persians first invaded Greece in 490 BC. The Battle of Marathon changed all of Europe's history. The Greek philosopher Socrates was critical of democracy. He criticized Athens leaders, so they gave him the death penalty. He died by drinking hemlock in 399 BC. Alexander the Great ruled in 336 BC, the king of Macedonia, when he was just 20. He conquered all of Greece and Egypt, then took Persia too, named cities Alexandria, then died at 32. Good job, boys and girls. What I would like for you to do is to review that one more time, maybe one or two more times. The good thing about the video is that you can make it go back so that you can review that two more times along with me. We can do it together. And I am certain that you are going to memorize that in no time. They are short timeline peg videos, timeline pegs compared to the last ones that you memorized. And by the way, thank you so much for those videos that you sent, that your parents sent me. I know that just like Miss Bennett and I, we are so proud of your hard work and all the progress you have done. Thank you so much for being hard workers, for persevering through this time that is different. It is a different time, a different way of doing school, but isn't it fun too that you can get to watch videos of Mrs. Bennett and myself teaching you over the computer? So that is fun, and I'm just grateful that we are able to do that. All right, so to our lesson for history today. If you were reviewing those timeline pegs, there is a country that those timeline pegs name. All three of those timelines, they name that same country. Were you able to identify what country that is? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. The country that all those three timeline pegs talk about is Greece. If you said Greece, that is the correct answer. Yes, they are all talking about Greece. So guess what we're going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about the country of Greece. Now, you should have your map with you, and I'd like for you to take that out. Your map is like that. We're going to be looking at the country of Greece, and we're going to talk about one of the biggest cities in Greece, in ancient Greece, by the name of Sparta. That is what we're going to be learning about today. So I would like for you to get a brown colored pencil or marker, and I'd like for you to locate Greece. I've already showed you where it was, but right now, locate Greece, and I'd like for you to put a square around the country of Greece. And the country of Greece, right there. It should look like that. Oh, boys and girls, Mrs. Castor forgot to ask you to do two things. What's the first thing that we should do when we have a worksheet? The first thing I do is always the same. I pick up my pencil and write my name. The next thing I do is of similar fate. I pick up my pencil and write the date. So make sure you write your name, the date. Today is March 23rd, 2020. So you should have put your name. I wrote my name, I wrote the date, and then put a square, a brown square around Greece. And now, because we're going to be learning about life in Sparta, I would like for you to grab an orange colored pencil, and I'd like you to circle, look for Sparta. You should be able to locate it right away. It's below Greece, south of Greece, where we put that box around Greece. And Sparta is just right below, and I'd like for you to circle that. So it should look like that, okay? So we're going to put our map to one side. I'll give you a few more seconds to finish that. So make sure that Greece has a square around it, a brown square, and that Sparta has an orange circle around. Okay, life in Sparta. So Greece, in the country of Greece, there are many different cities. And in Greece, in ancient times, they all spoke the same language. They all pretty much dressed the same. They all worshipped different, many gods. So all of Greece did that. They all worshipped many gods. But the only difference is that all of these cities, they did not want to obey one king. They wanted to each have their own leader. So in Greece in those times, every city had their own leader, every city had their own army, every city had their own laws, their own regulations, because they all wanted to be independent. And that means they all wanted to do things their own way. And in Sparta was no different. In Sparta, they had their own laws and their own army, and they valued different things. So what we're going to look at today is, what did people in Sparta value? And in our history book, we are on page 162, and we're not going to read it. I am just going to give you the highlights of these couple of pages, but what I would like for you to do is, after the video, I would like for you to go in there and read it. Read those pages 162, 163, and I'd like for you to stop at the top of page 165. That way you can read all the different details about life in Sparta. But in this video, I'm just going to give you the highlights. So in Sparta, they valued warriors. They wanted men to be strong, brave, and they wanted them to be good fighters. But in order for those soldiers to be strong and brave and ready for battle, they had to start them very, very young. So Spartan people, when their boys were only, what does that say? 7. When they were only 7 years old, they were sent to school. Kind of like we go to school, and boys, you first grade boys, you are 7 years old. Some of you may still be 6, but most of you are 7. So in Greece, in that time, they were sent to school, but it wasn't called a school, it was called a training camp. And what they would do at training camp is they would learn. Now, they were not learning the things that you're learning now. What are the things that you are learning now in school? Math. What other subjects? Science. How to do handwriting, cursive. History. We're learning about history right now. Well, in that time in Sparta, those boys, when they were sent to these training camps, because that's what they were called, they were 7 years old. So they would be taken to these training camps, and they would be taught how to be obedient, how to be disciplined fighters. They were taught how to exercise. That way their bodies would be strong and mighty and ready to be soldiers. That's what they were taught in school. And the reason why they were taught that is because they were expected to be soldiers when they were older. One of the things that they would do when they were young, they would make sure that they would walk a long distance, but without shoes and without socks. And what that would prepare them for is one, having rough skin, and the rough skin would help them endure further pain. And if they were hurting and if they were in a lot of distress and a lot of pain, these boys were taught to not complain. They were not allowed to complain of how cold it was or how hot it was or um, how hungry they were or how much pain they were feeling. They were not allowed to complain. They were to endure the pain. They were to make sure they felt it and be silent, because that, they believed, that that's what would make them brave and strong and ready for battle that they were training for. And when they grew older, when they were old enough to become soldiers, they would have to go through a test. And if they passed the test, they would become those warriors, and they would be praised and they would be greatly valued. But if they failed, it wasn't a good thing for them, because if they failed, they would not be able to vote, and they were not even able to be full citizens of Sparta, because Spartans really valued bravery, warriors, strength. And if those soldiers that didn't pass those tests, they couldn't be considered soldiers. And so that is what the people in Sparta really valued. Now, we talked a lot about the boys and what was expected of them as they grew older. How about the girls? Well, the girls were not allowed to be warriors. They were not allowed to be as praised as the men. But girls, they were also taught from a very young age how to exercise and be strong. That way they could be mothers to strong, healthy boys when they were older. So when they were old enough to get married and have their own babies, they were expected to be strong as well, so that they could have children that could be good fighters. So Spartan people, what did they value? Bravery, strength, warriors, and they were expected to become soldiers. And they were sent to camp when they were just 7 years old. So that is the life in Sparta. That is what they valued. Now, what I would like for you to do is, on your map, I would like for you to turn your map over, and I'd like for you to write Spartans, oops, there we go, Spartans, and I'd like you to write 1, 2, and 3. And in those 3 spaces, I would like for you to write 3 facts of what we just learned, okay? And the things that you might write down is, what were boys supposed to become? I would like for you, perhaps I'm just giving you ideas, but all these facts that we just learned, I'd like you to write 3 things that you learned about Spartans, okay? What they valued, something about the boys, something about the girls. That way we can recall and review on Wednesday what we learned about Spartans. When you're finished with those 3 facts, I want you to get your coloring sheet, and I'd like for you to color the Spartan warrior. That is how brave and that is how strong they expected to be. And when you're finished, I'd like you to do your best in coloring this warrior. Maybe, or perhaps your parents could take a picture of it and send it our way. We always love to receive your work. So make sure you finish this today and decorate it, color it the way that you think a Spartan soldier should look like. All right, boys and girls, that is life in Sparta. On Wednesday, we are going to learn about life in Athens. So have a wonderful day, and we will do another video on Wednesday. Bye, boys and girls.